How's it going, everyone? It's Eli with Common Sense, and I hope you're having a fantastic week. It's been a little bit since I've uploaded. I got sick a little while ago, but I'm all better now, and I'm back to making this content. So in that time that I've been recovering, I actually received a lot of fragrances in the mail, and today we're going to be looking at 6 of those fragrances, and I'm super pumped because this is my fall Middle Eastern cologne haul, and I have been waiting a long time for this, and I have a feeling like these are going to be amazing. So stick around and let's check them out. If this is your first time checking out this channel, I'd love to give you a warm welcome and a hello. It's awesome that you're watching this video, and I'm glad to have you. And to all the regulars who are tuning in again, I know who you are, and I love you guys. So 6 Middle Eastern fall fragrances. So technically one of them is sort of like a summer to fall fragrance, but I'm gonna stick it in there anyways. So I actually bought all these fragrances from FragranceBuy.ca, and they are a fantastic fragrance company, and I've been buying from them for a long time. But you can actually pick up a lot of these from tripletraders.com, and I'm actually an affiliate with them, so if you use my code COMMONSENSE, you can save 10% on your order. So if you buy one fragrance or if you do a big haul, you know, you can save a little bit of money and support the channel at the same time. Okay, you guys wanna see the fragrances. Let's check them out. So the first fragrance we're gonna be looking at is Fragrance World's Lapis Lazuli. So this fragrance takes inspiration from Carolina Herrera's Saffron Lazuli. So like a lot of the fragrances in today's list, I haven't smelled the original, but we're gonna be judging just the fragrance composition here and how it stands on its own. So let's check this one out. As you can see, you have this really deep blue box, and it has this nice kind of gold foil on it. On the back, you have the holographic sticker like all these fragrances. So maybe kind of hard to see on the camera, but this is a beautiful deep blue glass bottle, and it's got this kind of cheap plastic kind of gold on the bottom, but it absolutely looks and feels amazing in the hand. And fingers crossed that this is magnetic. It's not magnetic, but that's okay. The cap has the Fragrance World logo on it, and it actually does have a nice heft to it, so I will give it that. Let's test out this atomizer, shall we? Ooh, that's pretty good. Oh, this is a fall banger for sure. Oh man. I want to give that a second to settle down. So Fragrance World's Lapis Lazuli has top notes of cypress, wormwood, cloves, and rose, with middle notes of thyme, wheat, and iris, and a base of elemi, tolu balsam, vetiver, cedar, amber, and musk. So like I said earlier, this is a twist on Carolina Herrera's Saffron Lazuli, so I haven't smelled that fragrance, but I have to say this one, at least in the opening, smells fantastic. It smells very gentlemanlike, it's very mature, and I have to say, if you wear this with like a suit or a nice turtleneck, I feel like you are gonna get a lot of compliments, and people are gonna think, man, that person knows what they're doing. You definitely get a really nice kind of green aromatic yet really creamy vibe from the wormwood. Now wormwood is one of those notes that is kind of a make or break for me, at least in a fragrance, but in this I actually really enjoy it, and the way that it kind of blends with the cloves and the rose, I think it smells fantastic. You also get a nice kind of dusty, powdery iris, and with that wheat note in there, it smells really gourmand and very comforting and just warm and radiates this sort of heat. And now I know it's not listed, but I feel like you get a lot of gaiac wood, so that really nice kind of creamy sandalwood. It's just that creamy wood with a nice kind of mature rose and clove. Get a little bit of smokiness from that rose, and I think that amber and the vetiver also make it really mature and just smells amazing for this fall season. There is no official sandalwood note in this fragrance, but at least in the original Carolina Herrera Saffron Lazuli, that one did have the sandalwood, so I'm actually glad I picked up on that. You know your nose is getting trained when you can pick up some of these things, and I don't know, that just makes me really happy. It's also worth noting that it is a little bit soapy and just kind of powdery, again, from that kind of iris touch, but I actually have the dry down here, and we're gonna test that out. So in the dry down, it is pretty similar to the opening. I have to say it definitely mellows out a little bit, and you lose a little bit of that kind of floral background from the rose, and it turns into a more kind of sweet and spicy kind of vibe, but it still has that really nice kind of creamy saffron and that kind of wood vibe going on. I think it smells really, really nice in that dry down because it turns almost into like a sweet vanillic kind of fall pastry that you'd smell, you know, from that wheat and that kind of clove. But I gotta say, the iris and the saffron smell fantastic here, and they complement each other like crazy. Yeah, I don't think I've ever smelled anything quite like this, but I really, really enjoy how this smells in the dry down and in the air. So when you wear this and you walk by somebody, they are going to smell it and you're gonna leave a lasting memory in their head. The performance is wonderful. It lasts around 4 or 5 hours where it goes really, really strong, and you can still smell it about 11 hours later. So this stuff is no joke. This is kind of one of my new favorite hidden gems. Yeah, I can tell I'm gonna wear this one a lot when it gets a little bit cooler. Easy no-brainer if you want a fragrance that's really spicy, creamy, and gourmand. And that one is Fragrance World's Lapis Lazuli. So next up on the list is from the house of Amir. So Amir has been making a lot of amazing fragrances, and I gotta say, this is the first time that I've smelled any of the fragrances by them, and I am actually blown away by these, so I don't want to get too ahead of myself. This one is Lueur, despoir, Ambre. I have no idea if I said that right. So this is an interesting presentation because it has this kind of paper fold out box that you can kind of just unfold by pulling it apart. Look at that classic Louis Vuitton silhouette right there. This one's got a beautiful kind of brownish gray glass bottle, and the cap is actually magnetic. So that is a huge plus in my eyes. And it definitely shares that same kind of silhouette and kind of vibe from the original Louis Vuitton presentations. So this one has notes of agarwood, geranium, raspberry, rose, amberwood, benzoin, birch, incense, and saffron. So a really nice kind of a mature amalgamation of notes here that are going to give you that same kind of DNA, that kind of vibe that's found in the original Louis Vuitton Ombre Nomade. So as you first spray this one, you do get a nice blast of that kind of agarwood, that oud, but you also get a nice bit of incense, saffron, and I know it's not listed, but you do get that leather note. I also want to say that I get quite a bit of tobacco in here. It's just a very nice, almost smoky incense that kind of gives off that nice kind of pipe tobacco kind of smell. So I have smelled the original Louis Vuitton Ombre Nomade for a long time, and I gotta say, this is very close to it in the opening. Maybe I want to say like 75 to 80% the same, and I have a feeling like in the dry down, this is definitely going to get a lot closer to that. You do get a little bit of that kind of fruity raspberry touch at the very beginning, and you do have a little bit of those kind of florals from the geranium, but I think that the incense and the saffron really do kind of come off of this really strong, at least up top. As this settles down, it definitely gets a little bit more salty and less incense heavy, and some of the rose and the geranium and some of those other nice kind of saffron and incense, that really does kind of come out, and it smells really nice. This smells really, really close to the original. It loses a little bit of that kind of raspberry sweetness, and it embraces that sort of leathery, kind of spiced saffron kind of vibe. And with the amberwood, it does take on a little bit of a kind of salty ambroxan kind of vibe. It smells slightly synthetic, but for the price, this isn't going to be a one-to-one kind of clone. You know, you're going to get really close, but I feel like this definitely does the job. So if you like that kind of DNA, that really nice spiced leather, saffron, and incense, I think you're definitely going to enjoy this one. So like the last one, this one gets really great performance, and the longevity is around 10 hours or so. So this stuff is going to be sticking to your skin and your clothes for a really, really long time. And I want to say I paid about $35 to $40 for this, and so for that price, I am very, very happy with how it smells and how it performs. So this one is definitely a unisex fragrance. It is really nice, kind of powdery and leather heavy, so if you are a woman, you can definitely pull this off, and if you want to smell kind of dark and kind of smoky, you know, any guy can pull this off, and really anyone can pull this off. And that one is Amir's Lueur, despoir, Ambre. So this next fragrance I was super stoked and excited to try because I have a fragrance that is very similar to it, at least I think it is, and the names and the themes are very similar. This one is Amir's La Serpent. So I actually have Lattafa's Musamam, which are said to be very similar. They're supposed to both be kind of interpretations of Gucci's The Voice of the Snake. So haven't got my nose on that fragrance, but I have to say Lattafa's Musamam is one of my favorite fragrances that they have released, and it's definitely in my all-time favorites. So when I saw this one, La Serpent, my curiosity was piqued and I had to try this one out. So let's open it up. So this box is very similar to Maison Alhambra's The Myth presentation, so I'm guessing that the original Gucci box is very similar to this one. You've got a beautiful ornate kind of gold flake detailing on it, and you have the Emir logo right down there. And on the back you can see the Paris corner sticker. This feels very macabre. You have this dark kind of deep bottle and presentation. It almost looks like it's sitting in a coffin. I just love that. And here's the comparison to the Maison Alhambra bottle. So they're very similar. This one's got a really nice kind of heft to the cap, and it feels really nice, especially when you put it on, because you could totally lift it up by the cap and it's not going anywhere. I know it probably just made some of you nervous. This fragrance's note breakdown is very simple. It just has agarwood, which is oud, saffron, and patchouli. So immediately up top, you have a slightly animalistic oud, and that patchouli definitely does come off very mature, and you have a nice kind of earthy, sweet, almost a chocolatey kind of earthy gourmand smell coming from that patchouli. I feel like I also get a little bit of vetiver in this one. It's not listed, and I also get a little bit of sort of a smoky tobacco and leather vibe as well. So this one definitely smells very different from Lattafa Musamam, at least in the opening. On that one, it's very citrus heavy and it's a little bit more resinous. And I think this one is a little bit more spiced, but it lacks a little bit of that kind of edge, that kind of sting up top that kind of reminds me of a venomous snake, like I thought this one would do. So correct me if I'm wrong, I believe those two fragrances were both supposed to be spin-offs of The Voice of the Snake, but I gotta say, I do think this one is simple in the way that its notes are presented, but I do think it's done in a really pleasant way. So in the dry down, it definitely loses a little bit of that kind of resinous, kind of animalistic vibe from the agarwood, and instead it kind of embraces a creamy kind of oud. Definitely still has that kind of gourmand, earthy patchouli with that kind of chocolate-like feeling, but I almost feel like you get a slight cola accord here. It's just got a hint of sweetness, a kind of warmth, and it definitely smells a little bit rooty. So it kind of just reminds me of cola. So this is definitely not how I imagined this smelling. I kind of imagined this smelling a little bit more kind of spicy, have a little bit more of a resinous kind of punch, just having a little bit more of an oomph. So I'm not entirely blown away by this one, but I think it definitely smells nice, especially if you want kind of a soft kind of oud and leather accord in the dry down, but I can't really see myself wearing this one all that much. But I do gotta say, I do like that kind of oud and that kind of cola sweetness in the base, so maybe I'll give this one a try. I did give this one a full wearing, and I want to say it lasted around 3-4 hours, a pretty good projection, and then it did kind of start to settle down and you lose a little bit of the smell after about that 8-hour mark. So this one is a tiny bit weaker than some of the others, but still 8 hours is no joke. And I think for the $30 or so that I paid for this, I think that's fair. So I want to say that this one is a little bit more masculine leaning. It just smells kind of dark, kind of tobacco-like, and it definitely has a little bit of a darkness and a sweetness to it. So that's just my take on that. And that one is Paris Corner Amirs La Serpent. So if you guys made it to this point in the video, thank you so much for sticking around. And if you love fragrance related content as much as I love making it, consider subscribing and leaving a like, because it definitely helps out in the algorithm and it helps other people discover my channel and my love for fragrances. Back to the video. So next up, we're looking at another Amir fragrance, and this one is from the Valar series, and this one is A Chaos in the Ocean. So that name alone intrigued me, and I gotta say, I am very excited to smell this one. In terms of the presentation, you have this really beautiful, simple cardboard box with the Emir logo on the top, and it shows the kind of fragrance classification up here as well as the notes. Look at this beautiful turquoise bottle. You have this kind of fake leather, this pleather across the top, and you have the kind of notes and the name of the fragrance kind of pressed and etched into that leather. So this one is an eau de parfum, and like the last one, it has a magnetic cap. Let's go! Oh man, that just smells amazing in this air. Oh, hold on. That's a really nice kind of strong atomizer. I don't think it's pressurized, but it does give a nice kind of even blast. So this one's got top notes of bergamot and lemon with middle notes of cologne, hedione, and seaweed with a base of ambrox, cedar, and musk. This one is actually supposed to be based off Orto Parisi's megamere. So I haven't tried that one before, but I've heard that it is a beautiful, fruity, kind of musky, artistic masterpiece. So up top you have that beautiful, fruity, juicy bergamot and lemon that gives quite a bit of freshness and a really, really nice kind of cooling quality to it. And also the inclusion of the cologne and the hedione definitely give it a really ultra aquatic and marine-like kind of take to it. You also get a little bit of that kind of sea air from the seaweed and the ambrox especially. But that cologne fragrance aroma chemical does give off a nice fruity, almost like a melon-like kind of vibe. Just really sweet, kind of aquatic and fruity. But man, you just get an amazing kind of oceanic sweet floral with that nice juicy opening. On the dry down, it definitely becomes a little bit more oceanic, and it reminds me a little bit of Tiziano Terenzi's Kirche. So that one definitely has a bit of an overwhelming kind of fruity vibe up top, at least for my taste, but I really enjoy how this one smells because it gives a little bit of a nod to that Tiziano Terenzi Kirche and also the Erba Pura kind of DNA, where it's really kind of fruity, musky, but at the same time has a really nice kind of sandy oceanic backbone, just like this one. So in the dry down, it still has that nice sweet floral and kind of fruity vibe all throughout the lifetime, and it just still smells really clean and soapy, and I feel like I can still smell that kind of sea salt kind of vibe, especially from the ambrox and the seaweed and that cologne. Those three notes together definitely reinforce that kind of oceanic motif that they have done here. I gotta say, this stuff is beautiful, and I really love the kind of teal oceanic look that they're going for here. And I know this is a fall video, but again, like I said in the beginning, I feel like you can still pull this off in the kind of cooler weather because it is very kind of fruity, and that ambrox and the cologne, it definitely pushes off your skin and people can definitely smell this around you. And the performance on this one is really well. I want to say it was about 4 to 5 hours where it was really strong, and then it definitely sits closer to your skin, but you can still smell it really strong for about 10 hours. So this stuff is no joke. But I think this is definitely some of my favorites from this one so far. Excellent price for the quality and the longevity on this one. And that is Amir's A Chaos in the Ocean. So it's been a little while since I've ordered a fragrance from Lattafa. I feel like I bought a lot of their kind of best sellers, and I gotta say, this one came out last year and I never really got around to picking it up, but I saw it for a really good price. I want to say it was like $18 or $19, so you know I had to pick it up. So out of all three fragrances in this line, this one's note breakdown really caught my attention and I picked this one up. This is Lattafa's All Noble Wazeer. As you can see, it has a beautiful kind of golden textured look to it. It has this really cool kind of buck on the front with its horns. And I gotta say, this looks really cool. And that emblem definitely resembles the Panadora logo that you can see on all of those fragrances. This is a really interesting box. You have a sort of velvety kind of texture on the top with the Lattafa logo right there in the center. Looks like this guy had a sparring contest with a block of styrofoam. His antlers were kind of stuck in there. But that's nice that they include that kind of protection so that they don't fall off in transit. This is a beautiful bottle. You have that kind of velvet texture along the entire outside of the fragrance bottle, and really the kind of centerpiece of this fragrance is this cap. Really nice kind of high quality feeling kind of gold plated cap. Oh, that is unique. So Lattafa's All Noble Wazeer has top notes of mint, bitter orange, bergamot, and juniper, with middle notes of iris, dark chocolate, raspberries, caramel, and pears, with a base of cedar, sandalwood, vetiver, amber, vanilla, and musk. So in the air, this definitely smells like a fall kind of twist. It has that kind of really romantic kind of dark DNA from something like YSL's La Nuit de l'Homme. So you have a nice kind of herbal quality from the mint and the bitter orange here. So it definitely has a fruity kind of blast up top, and it just smells ultra refreshing, but at the same time it has a very pleasing, almost gourmand kind of vibe, but I'm kind of at a loss for words on this one. Really, you have to smell this to appreciate it. So there's a specific tea shop that I have visited in Missoula, Montana that kind of reminds me of this, because you have all these beautiful kind of fruity, herbal, and just really interesting kind of spices and gourmand smells kind of wafting through the air. And I feel like this kind of captures that kind of fall vibe. You have a beautiful kind of minty orange, but it has a really nice kind of delicate powdery floral vibe from the iris. So really the pear, orange, and the raspberry are very strong up top, and it has the kind of fruity, refreshing DNA, but at the same time you have a nice kind of herbaceous green and kind of herbal take from the mint and some of the other kind of vetiver and sandalwood in here. I gotta say, this stuff smells amazing in the air and especially on skin. So in the dry down, this definitely takes a turn, and I love what it is doing here. The fruits kind of take a step back and turn from a really refreshing kind of juicy fruit, and instead it turns into a kind of dried fruit that you would get almost in like a trail mix. It smells slightly nutty and very woody, but at the same time it has a beautiful vanilla and amber in here, and the iris and the dark chocolate blend really, really nice here and turn just very sweet, romantic, and kind of powdery. Super comforting, and this is how I want to smell this fall. I know I've said a lot of these are my favorite so far, but I think this one definitely is my favorite. I cannot believe the quality of that dry down. This just smells absolutely fantastic and revolutionary. I'm curious to see how this one actually stacks up between the Panadora Velvet Iris. I haven't actually smelled that one, but I'm curious to try those too. But that is a beautiful kind of gourmand, soft and powdery touch. But that iris definitely emphasizes that kind of velvety texture, that soft, luxurious, and sweet kind of approach to this one. This one also performs very well, and I want to say the longevity was about 9 hours on this one, so really good for the price. And again, $20. I cannot get over that. I would pay $70, $80 for this stuff, and that is Lattafa's All Noble Wazeer. Last but not least, a Fragrance World cologne that was on the pricey end. I want to say I paid around $48 or $50 for this one, but I had really been wanting to check this one out for a while, and I'm gonna keep this review short because I'm gonna do a more in-depth review in the future. So this one is Fragrance World's Divin Aoud, or Divin Aoud, you be the judge. So this is supposed to be a very close take on Roja's Ambre Oud. So I have smelled that one in the past. I don't remember if I have a decant. I probably do somewhere, but I'm gonna trust my nose on this one. So this sleeve actually, so this sleeve comes off and reveals this beautiful fragrance box that holds our fragrance. Oh wow, that's in there good. So this one's got a really high quality packaging on the outside, and you have this sort of logo that's pressed on there. So I didn't notice this before, but if you can see, this has beautiful kind of purple and blue painted detailing on there, which is something I have not seen in some of the other fragrances. That is a really nice touch. So as you can see up on screen, this one had a little bit of a quality control issue where the front logo emblem kind of fell off and was on the side of the bottle, but I literally just peeled it off and put it back on the middle. So this one definitely has that dark brown kind of liquid, but it isn't quite as dark as the authentic Roja Aoud line. So I have this really unique kind of 1 ounce smaller bottle of Roja Aoud. This is just the regular oud one. And as you can see, the light definitely is not scattered in this one. It's almost like a soy sauce. It's just very thick and oily. And it actually has a warning on here that says not to spray this on clothes because this will stain. And it definitely does come off and spray onto your skin like some really dark kind of thick liquid like soy sauce. So Divin Aoud has top notes of woods, oak moss, bergamot, and fig, with middle notes of rose, jasmine, honey, amber, patchouli, and agarwood, with a base of spices, cinnamon, leather, and saffron. So this is kind of hurting my brain a little bit because this smells almost 90% close to the Roja Oud fragrances. It's got that very velvety, thick oud, but at the same time, it has a nice kind of ambery honey sweetness. And I know Roja tends to use a lot of notes in their fragrances, but this one, it's starting to get really close to the original. So in the opening, you do definitely get a blast of a sort of synthetic agar wood kind of accord, but it definitely shares a very strong similarity to Roja's oud notes because it smells a little bit animalistic, but at the same time, it's very velvety, warm, and slightly sweet. I do get that very resinous, almost bitter kind of nutty vibe from the oud in this one, but I gotta say, the jasmine, the rose, and the amber are very strong in this one. and you definitely get a similar kind of vibe to the original, and it gives off a very pleasing, sweet kind of take on the Amber Oud. I would say if you're comparing this to the original, just one-on-one, I'd say this is about 80% similar. It's got a very similar DNA, but it still smells really nice up top, but it is just slightly off, and some of the notes are a little bit jumbled, and the composition is definitely different. Now, if you compare the dry downs, that's where it smells nearly identical to the original. But it does kind of tame down and take a step back from that really smoky rose and really animalistic oud, and it definitely takes a more creamy tone to it. But I do want to say that this dry down is particularly beautiful. So $50 is definitely on the higher end, especially when you can see some of the fragrances that are available for the price, but you are stepping up on your presentation. You are getting a very high quality fragrance and a really nice concentration. This one is an eau de parfum, but I want to say this does perform like an extrait de parfum. I'm going to do a more in-depth kind of dive in on this fragrance, but for right now, this one ticked all my boxes. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. So that is it, my friends. I feel like this is one of my favorite hauls that I've ever done. I have definitely struck some gold on some of these. So just looking at all of these and smelling them, they are going to be amazing for the fall. And whether you're a guy or girl or just anyone who wants to smell amazing this fall season, any of these are going to be fantastic. Thank you so much for watching me. I hope you have a fantastic week and that you get chances to do the things that you love. And I just hope that you feel loved and appreciated this week. So thank you so much for watching, and I have been Eli with Common Sense, and until the next time, bye-bye. That's pretty nice. Shit, really nice.